I had to go to the lighthouse. I knew there was something important waiting for me there.
You don't even recognize me, do you, Ryder? You think you're God? You think you can just make up stuff? Play with people's lives and kill them when you think it adds to the drama? You're in this story now, and I'll make it. You missed your deadline!
Damn.
Давай, иди сюда сейчас.
You can't stop!
Разберемся с тобой.
I realized that the hitchhiker was a character from the story I'd been working on.
How does it feel to die by the hands of your own creation?
Блять, а почему лагаешь? Да бегу я, бегу.
I was trapped. There was no way out.
Привет.
The cabin was a death trap. I had to get out.
Follow the light. You are hurt. You should go into the light. You are only safe there.
The light pole that you see in front of you is a crucial piece in the gameplay of Alan Wake. We call them safe haven. It's a spot of light in the midst of darkness. It provides you safety. While the enemies actually don't want to go into light, they also heal the player faster and acts as guidance for the player. Every time you see light in front of you, that's usually a good direction to take.
To its ports I've been. To its ports I've been. Do you understand?
No.
Follow my light. I entered your dream to teach you. The darkness is dangerous. It's sleeping now. When it feels you. There's no time.
In this scene, the diver takes control over Wake's dream to teach him how to fight the forces of darkness.
By the dark presence.
The basic concept is simple. You turn the light on top of Taken and you can see the darkness burning away. After that, you are able to defeat Taken with your revolver. This is a good opportunity to see how the light mechanics work. Turn the light on top of him and you can actually see a small halo forming around him. The halo gets smaller, the less darkness there's left. And you can clearly see a light effect when the shield is burned away. The combat mechanics were always designed around the idea that you face multiple enemies at once. In this tutorial you only get one enemy at a time, but in the field that comes after this you get 2 or 3 enemies at the same time. Then you get the proper feel of how the combat works. Be careful on who you're concentrating on, because someone else might actually be flanking you and trying to hit you in the back.
Good. You've done well. Remember what I've taught you. That is all. I will give you back your dream now.
In the nightmare, a terrible darkness was taking over the world. The lighthouse was the last safe place on Earth.
You made me this way, and now I'm gonna kill you. Just like
Да пошли вы. Надо еще патроны тратить.
I can keep this up forever.
Ёпта мать. Давай, беги, братишка. Блядь, фонарик, да, ты поможешь. Давай, 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 давай.
He's here. Alan, wake up. Shh, baby. Just another nightmare. Everything's fine. You dozed off.
Right. Anything more than dozed off would be news for everyone.
Cheer up, handsome. We're here.
The events of the game take place in the Pacific Northwest region of the United States. This is a beautiful region that has in the past been featured in numerous TV shows and movies like The Shining and Twin Peaks. It's famous and recognizable for many things like fishing and mining and huge redwood tree trunks the size of a bus, beautiful lighthouses. But I think the most recognizable and beautiful feature is the nature. It's an oceanic climate combined with huge mountain ranges and dark forests. The cool thing about it is that there's an enormous amount of moisture constantly flowing in from the Pacific Ocean, and when it hits the mountains it turns into fog. So the end result of that is that almost everywhere you look there's these dense wisps of fog lazily crawling on the mountains and hillsides. And it really lends the area an almost otherworldly feel.
Any chance I could get an interview?
Look, Mr. Maine, I'm on vacation. In fact, I'd appreciate it if we could keep my being here just between the two of us. I'm sure you understand.
Fair enough. You can trust me to be discreet.
Что ты сфоткала, нет?
Just a couple more.
Change your mind, though.
Еще парочку.
You have a lovely holiday.
Very nice. I got a couple of really good ones. And I see you made a friend. That's cute.
Right. Yeah?
Hey, bestseller. How's my favorite writer? Are you there yet?
Barry. Yeah. We just got here.
Are the locals giving you trouble? Just say the word and I'll hop on a plane and come make sure that you're left alone, Al.
No, Barry, we're fine.
Great, great. Just want to make sure you can relax and recharge. So, how is the place? Has it gotten your creative juices flowing?
Barry, we're just settling in.
Okay, Al. I'll call back later to make sure you're doing okay. And you call me if there's a problem, okay?
Да, да, хорошо,
Just
давай.
looking out for you, buddy. Talk to you later.
I love you too,
Пока-пока.
Barry.
You know he's going to be calling you every 5 minutes.
Barry is Barry. I can always turn off the phone.
What did I tell you?
Text message from Barry. He says hi to you too.
Alan, we're here. Come on, let's get back to the car.
Нифига, еще на тачке будем ездить.
We need to stop at the local diner to get the cabin key from the landlord. Mr.
Diners are the very essence of traditional Americana and the hearts of small-town communities, such as Bright Falls. There being so many of them and many of them looking very much like each other, source material for
Так,
this
что
location was
делать?
always going to
Найти
be
Карла
plentiful.
Стаки.
But even so, from the start, we had a certain one in mind. If you can remember a certain black tie wearing, pie munching
Ничего, выйти
FBI
не
agent
могу.
who likes a damn fine cup of coffee, you'll know the one I'm talking about.
А, вот он.
I could really use a tune right now.
Что за пираты, блин?
Number 6 in the jukebox. I'd do it myself, but both of my legs have gone to sleep. Bad circulation. Yeah.
Are you serious? Coconut again? You disgust me. Call yourself a rocker. Unbelievable. Ha!
Так, нет, это не мы, походу.
You put the lime in the coconut, drink them both up.
Just because we're brothers,
Нет,
don't
не, я
think
туда
I
не
won't
пойду.
murder you in your sleep.
Тетя, привет.
in there, young man. You can hurt yourself.
Да я схожу,
I
проведаю.
think I can handle it, ma'am.
I didn't want to wait. I wanted to find Stucky, to get the key and get out as soon as possible. The waitress was giving me a headache. Overeager fans always did.
Наверное, чувак обосрался.
Hello? Mr. Stucky?
Ёб твою мать!
Unfortunately, he was taken ill. But I have the key for you and instructions on how to get to the lake.
Okay.
I wish you a good stay in my cabin. I'll come by later to check how you've settled in. And to meet your wife. I insist.
Thanks.
Что такое страшное, блин?
Cauldron Lake is a special place. Very inspiring.
You got lucky this time, young man.
You can hurt yourself in the dark.
Да я знаю, что
This
опасно.
really ought to be fixed.
Even that sounds better than your singing.
Are you all right?
The Andersons, they're local musicians. We're waiting for Dr. Hartman to come pick them up. They wandered off from his clinic.
Bye, Mr. Wake.
Да господи, когда я на машине покатаюсь?
Wow. It's gorgeous, Alan.
It's something, all right. I'll get you
A
inside.
bird-like cabin is an idyllic, a little rundown but nevertheless beautiful
Потому что у меня есть
cabin
фонарик.
nestled in a small island on the Cauldron Lake. But not all about it is as it seems. You see, in the 70s there was a big eruption and the whole island sank and it took down the cabin with it. So it shouldn't really exist. Yet somehow it does.
Here we go.
The original idea for the bird-like cabin was that it was actually alive, that it would roam about in the forests at night, rising onto its legs that would at daytime look like bird-leg shaped roots sticking out from under it. In the end, the story evolved into having the name of bird-leg cabin simply derive from the peculiar shape of the island and also from the frontal facade of the building, where a chimney, which looks like a beak, and two round windows looked like its face, and two porches, one on either side, looked like its wings.
The Deerfest guests have already started to arrive. Just ran into one on the ferry. Famous artist, no less. We'll see if we can rope him into an interview later on. Now let's go to the phones. Caller, you're on KBF-FM.
Так, наверное, нужен вход в подвал какой-нибудь. К тому сараю, где сарай? Давай сейчас включим.
An old generator had been connected to the power cable.
Ёпта, он не взорвется.
The lights are on. Good work, honey. I'll freshen up a bit and start settling in.
Okay, I'll look around a bit.
Sure thing.
The island had once been the site for a love story. It was a beautiful place. Again.
We spend a lot of time talking about Alice in the game, but we don't actually see all that much of her because she disappears. That's why it was very important for us to establish her as a major force in Wake's life in the very beginning of the game. Their relationship is very interesting because Alice is actually a lot smarter and stronger than Wake is. She's capable of manipulating him and is quite willing to do so if need be. That's how they end up at Cauldron Lake in the first place. But what she does out of love. She really just wants to help him. And he does need all that help because he kind of falls apart without her. She's a lot stronger than that. She could survive without him, but I'm not sure if Wake could ever live without Alice.
Well, hello there.
I'm not the surprise. It's in the study. Go take a look.
Okay.
Может, не надо.
Surprise!
Alice? What is this?
I guess I have a small confession to make. I thought maybe you could write here that a change of scenery would get you past...
Damn it, Alice, everyone
Hey, just hear me out. There's a
The cabin had gone dark. All the lights were out.
Да какого хрена ты сюда пришел?
His marriage is failing. He's suffering from the results of extremely poor impulse control, and frankly, the guy is a bit of a dick. He's not a bad writer, he's definitely a decent one, and obviously he's been very successful.
Alice? Alice?
Ёб твою. Давай, ныряй, что ты стал? Вот это было зря.
Keep going.
Alice?
Твою мать.
Among Alice's things was a book, The Creator's Dilemma, by a Dr. Emil Hartman. Seeing the book brought back my fight with Alice. I didn't like it, and I didn't like the guy's smug face on the cover either.
Designing the environments, we are making full use of the diversity of nature in Pacific Northwest region. In this episode, we find Alan Wake crashed in a car, unable to climb back to the road, and facing a long hike through the forest to reach a distant gas station where he hopes to find help. The area is a rocky, forested valley. He has to go through a logging site and also a marshland that follows the bottom of the valley and a river crossing. In the end, there is a vintage old gas station to explore, so really it's a visually very interesting location.
Опять свет в конце туннеля.
Hello? Someone there? The loose sheets of paper were pages from a manuscript entitled Departure by Alan Wake. The man turned to face me. His
Well, as you can see, Wake has just found his first manuscript pages. They just sort of floated down from an unearthly light. And the manuscript is really one of our main storytelling tools in the whole thing, and one of our most important concepts in the entire game. And that stuff was actually really difficult to write because you don't have a lot of space there. You have a couple of paragraphs, and you kind of need to be able to tell a little story there.
Yeah, and I also think that manuscript pages are a big part of the whole Alan Wake experience. While it also tells a lot about the world itself, it also gives you a really deep history of different characters in the game.
Yeah, and it feels kind of natural too because we sort of made the pages a part of the whole thing. They're not just sort of random things in the sort of.
Please, I've been in an accident. Hey, hey, you!
Phil!
There's been an accident. I need help.
Listen, I need to.
Premium cabins for rent in
Ёб твою мать.
Carl Stucky. Pleased to meet you. Non-refundable reservation deposit required.
Чувак, у тебя нет ствола? Давай, беги, беги, беги.
I had to figure a way out of this. Any second now, and Stucky would be knocking on the door with his axe like Nicholson in The Shining.
Во, сейчас начнется мясо.
During your trying, it's the
Так, патронов.
incontestably proven health benefits let you kill one stone. You can see the sights and keep those cholesterol levels.
Great Falls Sheriff Station. Only I.
Hello?
Ах вы ублюдки. Да, света нет. Ёпта.
Even though most of the enemies attack you with melee weapons, some of them are able to use ranged weapons as well. I think it's way cooler when somebody's throwing stuff at you instead of shooting. Or maybe I just got tired of that in our previous games.
My head pounded with the concussion. I'd never fired a gun outside a shooting range. And now I
Нет,
just
нет,
killed
нет, не
someone.
садись.
Or something. There were no bodies. They just disappeared. If I was dreaming, it felt real enough to make me sick.
Ага, подсказки.
Eerie hand-painted graffiti was revealed by my flashlight. Someone had hidden a chest of supplies near it.
Бля, что я сделал? Бля. Твою мать. Зашибись.
The dark forest was the last place I wanted to go, but I had no choice. I had to get to the gas station. What the hell was that? When I saw the river below, something uncoiled itself inside my head. I realized that I'd have to find a way across. I didn't even want
Wake's newfound fear of water is a result of his plunge into Cauldron Lake. Of course, at this point in the story, he doesn't know what happened to him, he doesn't remember any of it, but on some subconscious level, he knows that he's been violated, and he associates that with the water.
Stucky was still out there, in the dark, stalking me.
Че, прикалывайся, что ли? И чё здесь?
taken. They're taken.
Блин, куда идти-то? О, мусора. Так.
The staircase was broken. I had to make my way up some other way. There was no power. There was bound to be a generator somewhere at the logging site.
Ах ты шкура. Фу-ху. Это будет поинтереснее.
With all this forestry equipment around, there had to be something I could use to reach the top.
Подожди, а какой я переместил-то? Чуть не пойму. Так, вот это вот.
I was just outside for a breath of fresh air, and what a night. I know most of you are probably in your beds by now, but if you're still up and around, take a moment. Step outside for a spell and breathe in deep. The weather's absolutely still, the sky is
Куда идти-то?
crystal clear. It's like the forest is quietly breathing along with you. To your listeners, no. I'm a night owl, and it's on nights like this I wish I wasn't keep you company all night long if I weren't. It looks like I'm not the only one staying up late. Caller, you're on the air.
The gas station was closer now, its light welcoming in the darkness.
Кто это гавкает?
Most of the gameplay locations we have in the game incorporate the idea of a journey into them. It basically means that we try to show where player is coming from and where he's going to as often as possible. In the beginning of episode 1, this meant that we showed the lighthouse whenever possible, and of course now we use the gas station in similar role.
Давай, бери. Ебать! Давай, стреляй. Да че там много батареек? Кто?
Here we can see some of the
Где
nasty
ты?
names that we have. We call them flankers because they try to circle around you and stab you in the back. Though they are quite easy to take out.
Чё-то мне трактор не нравится. Сука, засада. Давай все, бери батарейки. А, так лимита. Блять. И чё? Блять, опять этот туман.
The journey from the crash car onwards has seen a steady escalation of suspense, and now we're wrapping it up with a meeting.
Ух, нифига
with
тут
possessed car
запасов.
starting.
Сейчас война будет жесткая. Так, а это что? Батарейки. Ебать, ты кто? Давай, давай, перезаряжаем быстрее. Ты говно, блядь. Заряжай свой ебучий фонарь. Нихуя вы чё так много сносите? Пошел ты. Типа босс, что ли? Или ты кто? Бля, дай сюда, дробоги. На нахуй.
Stucky's body vanished, leaving behind only
Блядь, пиздец.
assuming I'd reach the lights at the gas station alone.
Возьми батарейки, они тебе пригодятся сейчас.
You're about to find the first TV at the gas station where we see Alan Wake raving like a lunatic. Cynthia Weaver actually talks about a similar thing later on in the game when she mentions that Thomas Zane has been talking to her from beyond and from television, and it's kind of a similar thing. Wake isn't aware of how it's happening, but that's what it is. We are thinking of Alan Wake as kind of a sum of three parts actually. Our writing, Ilkka Villis' face and body language, and Matthew Poretta's voice. And since we shot this stuff on video instead of...
I'll write. I'll keep writing. Outside there's only darkness. Outside the cabin, outside the story, there's only darkness. I can feel her presence in the dark. Just now, I could smell her perfume in the room. I'll reach her, I'll fix her. I'll bring her back. The story will come true. If I stop, she's lost.
А где телефон? Почему дверь закрыта? На чем сфокусироваться?
The Deer Fest had been 2 weeks away when we arrived. If the day count on the banner was right, I was missing a whole week between the night we got here and now.
Найти телефон.
I had to get inside the gas station to find a phone to call for help.
сортире, может, телефон стоит. А, вот он-то.
Rifle Sheriff Station.
Oh, thank God, Sheriff.
Sheriff Sarah Breaker. You are...
I'm Alan Wake, but listen. I was in a car crash. My wife, Alice, she's missing.
Calm down, Mr. Wake.
We were staying in a cabin on the island, on Cauldron Lake.
There's no island on Cauldron Lake, not since the big eruption in the 70s.
Please, I can take you there, okay?
You look like you've taken a pretty bad knock to the head. Are you okay?
Listen.
We'll figure this out. Please get in the car. We'll swing by the lake and then we'll go to the station, okay? Mr. Wake, have you seen Stucky, the guy who owns this place?
I realized I couldn't tell her what had happened in the forest. She wouldn't have believed me. And then she wouldn't have helped me with Alice.
Все, что ли, прошел?
Previously on Alan Wake. I came to Bright Falls with my wife.
Honey, I'm home.
Back here, sweetie. How was it?
Worst weather I've ever seen.
We have two of these New York flashback scenes in the game, and
Чё, это
actually
новая
we
жена,
almost cut
что
them
ли?
out. And I'm very glad that we were able to keep them in
Опять
because
она
they are very
потаскалась.
important to the story that we're telling here.
Включить кофеварку,
These are the
опять
days
кофе,
when the
хватит
Wakes were
кофе
actually
пить.
happy. And we spent so much of the game in danger and in darkness, running around with guns blazing. And also, when we see Wake and Alice together, most of the time they're arguing or at least not being very happy. But these are the days when they were both very, very happy together, and these are the days they long for. In the second flashback sequence, towards the end of the game, you can see the cracks there. They aren't really doing very well anymore. But right now, this one it was good.
Coffee's on.
Great, thanks. I'll need it if I'm gonna finish this by tomorrow.
Oh, hey, I just finished those cover mock-ups. They're on your desk. Tell me what you think.
No kidding. I didn't think you'd get them done this quickly.
Блин, жаль, лагаешь, падла. Сука, почему, интересно?